Once a drum is dried properly, we move to the wet sanding process. What Lorraine is first doing is sealing the edge of the drum with wax to keep water and soap from getting into the plies. The next thing she'll do is we'll wet sand it using 500 grit paper. Then we'll go back and wet sand it again using 1,000 grit paper. We use a mixture of half water and half soap that we've been using for probably 30 or 40 years to make sure we get the right consistency. After we're done in the wet sanding area, we bring the drums out to the drilling area. We drill them all on the same old machine we've been using since the 50s. This is the same machine that drilled Art Blakey's drum, Alvin Jones' drums, Vinnie Colaiuta's drums. So just about everybody's Gretsch drums in recent history have been drilled on this machine. We have to take a lot of good care of it. It's kind of a temperamental old machine, but we love it nonetheless.
Those drums we were making in the 50s, hey, they're golden. They've aged very nicely like a fine wine. The instruments that we make today will be going 50 and 75 years hence.
This is the router table that we cut all of our Gretsch bearing edges on. We also cut the snare bed on this table. It's been in the Gretsch family for years. It was in the Brooklyn factory. Then when Baldwin bought the company in '67, Baldwin used it in Arkansas to cut guitar bodies on. Then we got it back in the 80s, and we've been using it ever since. After we cut our bearing edge, we bring it over to the drum sanding machine to hand sand the edge. We hand sand a 1/32 round over on the outside. We try to make the rest of the edge perfectly smooth. The quality of the edge directly relates to how well the drum will tune later on after it's assembled. We've used a 30-degree edge for quite some time, probably since the 60s or so, and that is definitely part of the Gretsch sound, is the 30-degree edge. This is our buffing process. As you buff the drum, there's a couple things you really need to make sure that you do. First one is you have to heat the drum evenly across the surface of the drum to let the lacquer reactivate itself. The other thing you're doing is every time the drum hits the wheel, you're scratching the drum. The idea is to buff it at different angles so the time you're done, you've diffused all the scratches out of the drum and you have the beautiful Gretsch finish. After the drum is buffed, we then put the badge on the drum. First step of that is bending the badge so you have a radius on it. We put the eyelet in the badge, line the badge up where it reads correctly, then we go to the badge press. Put a little wax on the anvil. There you go. Now the drum's ready for the assembly process. The last thing we do with the Gretsch drum is we put it in Barbara's hands. She puts the lugs on and any kind of hardware that goes on the drum. Then she heads the drum and puts it into relative pitch. After the drum's inspected, then we ship it off to the customer.
People who play the instrument have discerning ears. There's a lot of choices out there, but there's only one Gretsch sound. Rich, warm, woody. I mean, it's a classic drum tone. I got to think that it's, for me, it is the classic drum tone.
When you're hitting the drums, that sound coming back at you and then going back out to the audience, that's what the great Gretsch sound really is.
Our quality right now is better than it's ever been. A lot of time and effort goes into building a drum, and I think that you can tell the result just by the sound of it.
The core values are family, innovation, and the faithfulness to the recipe that's brought us to where we are today.